everybody, Alicia Panzarelli here, taking a look at a STEM activity that we personally engaged in, and it was how to engineer a water filtration system that would pretty much mimic what the Earth does in order to filter our water. So we were given a bunch of materials from our professor or from the grocery store, but I do want to note that I originally collected water from a creek that's near my house. It does receive a lot of runoff from the farm there that has roughly 100 sheep. I did collect it thinking that it was going to be a little bit more murky than it was. So in order to make it what I call pretty much swamp water, I added a bunch of dirt from my compost pile. So looking at the 3 different trials, Trial 1 and Trial 3, I tried to just purely mimic what the Earth would do, and then Trial 2 is where I used the alum, and then I did kind of keep all of my data on the whiteboard there so I could see what I used, what did I think worked, what do I need to add, so it's all there. And that's just kind of a little bit of the taste of the data that could be collected for this. So like I said, for trial 1 and 3, I tried to just purely mimic what the Earth would be doing. So for each trial, I had the cloth, then I had charcoal, then I had sand, then I had gravel. For trial 1, I didn't use too much of the material. And we can see that because of that, my water did not come out even close to anything that anybody would drink. You can see a lot of sediment at the bottom. Now, trial 3, I promise this actually looked a lot lighter in person. It looks pretty dark in the image, but it is a lot lighter. One distinct difference is that all the sediment that you see in trial 1, you don't see that in trial 3. And the reason why I think that is because in the 3rd cup, I didn't just have sand, I had a sand charcoal mix because I did a little bit of research on the subsoil and that seemed to mimic subsoil a little bit better than just purely having sand. Now, Trial 2, I thought was just amazing. So this is where I had my swamp water, and after about 2 hours and a cup and a half of the alum solution, I got crystal clear water on the top. That crystal clear water, which still did have a little bit of the particles in it, went through the filtration system, and I got very clear drinking water out of it. Now, I will say that I wouldn't drink this water just because I know a lot of chemicals run off from the farm, but as far as the sediments, they're not there anymore. So my filtration system worked, but that is really all thanks to the alum and a lot of time. All right, so as far as our inquiry continuum, this is definitely an activity that is learner-centered. Really, the only question that I thought would have been teacher-guided is the initial question of, how can you build a filtration system? So I did think that was teacher-guided, but as soon as it got to the evidence section, I thought that was almost fully learner self-directed, and I thought it was the furthest column. Because the learner is going to determine what constitutes as evidence and collects it. I even did that a little bit when I looked at, what is the Earth system purely versus if we add the alum. I also looked at how can I change my different sections. And then, one of the things that I would have done if I was collecting more data is I would have looked at the mass of how much water I put in versus the mass of how much water I got out. And then you could start to discuss where that kind of decrease in water, where did it go? It didn't just disappear, but where is it? So it opens up for a lot of questions and a lot of data collection that is student driven. Now, same thing with the next question. The learner is going to formulate an explanation. I think for both of these, where the learner also evaluates their explanation, if this was a younger grade, I would probably say that this is going to be kind of the level 3, still learner directed, but you're probably going to have the teacher in there kind of guiding the discussion to some degree. So because of that, I said they were level 3. However, given the grade, I do think this could probably be something where it would be kind of totally learner directed in that kind of 4th category. But again, that would be given the grade. As adults, I think we would be in that furthest column. And that's the same thing for the last question. So learners communicate and justify their proposed explanations. Again, I think this is going to be the learner self-directed, and they're going to communicate and justify, why do you think this happened? What are we seeing in our filtration system? What are we seeing in the Earth? So again, a lot that is learner directed. Excellent STEM activity where the student is at the center and the student is our focus.